What do we do when we're in the face of so much uncertainty?
Well, when you are in the face of so much uncertainty, which we all are right now, what you have to do is you have to win the battle that you can win, which is the battle with your own mind. You see, you can't control what governments are going to do. You can't control the price of oil. You can't control what COVID-19 is going to do. You can't control what's going to happen a month from now, 2 months from now. You can only control what you're doing right here, right now. And so if you have the propensity to get triggered by the unknown, which most human beings do, you have to fight to focus on the stuff you do know. So right now in this moment, you know what I know? I know that if you're watching this conversation, you're safe. I know that you have access to the internet. I know that you're still alive. And so safety and health is the number one thing that if you have that covered, you can focus on this moment and bringing your mind back to this moment and saying, I may not know what's going to happen. I may not like how people are handling it, but I do know that I am safe right now and that I will be able to face whatever is coming. When you start to get into the pattern and the habit of spinning thoughts about what's coming, you will lose the battle with your mind. Your health will tank, your mood will tank, your relationships will tank, your outlook will tank. It all begins with making a decision that you are not going to allow that shit in your mind. That is the one thing that you can control. And what's happening for so many people right now is that our moods and our decisions and our thought patterns actually begin in our bodies. So our nervous systems are hardwired to trigger certain thinking patterns. And it dates back to patterns that you learned when you were a kid. So if uncertainty for you as a kid meant, uh-oh, is dad coming home and drunk? And do I need to be on edge? And I get hyper vigilant so that I don't get in the crosshairs? Or maybe uncertainty was, uh-oh, mom seems a little critical. Is she disappointed? Is she upset? Am I going to get in trouble? And so you developed this propensity to start to worry about what's coming. The second, as an adult, you get into a situation where you start to feel like you don't know what's coming, before your mind even realizes it, your nervous system recognizes it because your mind may have forgotten the pattern, but your body sure remembers it. And boom, this kind of habitual worrying can take over like that. So you're not only dealing with the triggers that are in the present moment, you're dealing with past patterns of thinking, whether it's worry or anxiety, or it's perfectionism or procrastination or hypervigilance or assuming something bad is going to happen, whatever it may be, that is getting triggered for people at a profound level. And so what I want to do today with you is I want to give you some simple tools so that you can create some psychological distance, just a micro moment between the thing that triggers you. Let's create a little moment, a pause, if you will, where you can have self-awareness and where you can insert a moment of control and then hand you the tools to redirect your mind to something positive. Because here's what I know. This isn't going to last forever. I know that oil prices may momentarily tank, but when we flatten the curve, we will go back to life and people will need oil. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that really suffer because they lose their jobs or they lose their homes or they are struggling to find the basic supplies. One good thing about what's happening right now is this is not happening just to you. This is a global crisis and there are a tremendous number of resources out there. So you can focus on all the shit that you can't control, or you can focus on this moment and the fact that right now you're healthy and okay. And then you can develop a mantra from this moment to remind yourself to calm your ass down and focus on the fact that if something bad happens, you will face it then.
I love that response. I love that. What is this tool? I'm curious to know now. What is this tool that you're going to teach us? Can we get into that?
Yes. So the first thing that I want everybody to do is you've got to be able to see or name the thing if you want to tame it. So if you just take out a piece of paper and you write down everything on a simple piece of paper or in a notebook that triggers you to worry, to feel anxious, to be uncertain, that's number one, because part of what we need to teach you to do is you can see this stuff coming. If you don't label all the things that trigger you, then what's going to happen is your nervous system gets triggered, which then takes you into a worry and an anxiety, a fight or flight adrenaline response that hijacks your mind. And before you know it, your thoughts are scrambling and it's hard to bring yourself down once your thoughts go haywire. So I want you to write down all the things. For me, my biggest moments of anxiety are first thing in the morning. And I have tremendous experience with this personally. So I struggled with anxiety for 25 years. I was medicated for it. The medication saved my life. I had such severe postpartum depression when our first daughter was born, who's now 21, that I couldn't be left alone with her. That's how scary it was. So my expertise comes not from studying this, it's from living this and having to figure out how to save my own ass from my own mind. And about 6 years ago, I started using something I called the 5-second rule to interrupt my thoughts that were negative, that would send me spiraling, and drag my mind to consciousness, to the prefrontal cortex in 5 seconds flat. And I trained myself to start to rewire my own patterns of nervous system gets triggered, my mind goes haywire. I interrupt it using what I call the 5-second rule. I'm going to teach it to you in a second. I draw my focus back to my prefrontal cortex, which gives me immediate control of what I'm thinking. And boom, I drop in what I call an anchor thought to anchor myself down. So the first step of this is I want you to write down everything that triggers you. For me, waking up to a new day where there's a lot of uncertainty or something's going on, facing all of that is where my anxiety comes. And, I hit rock bottom in my life 11 years ago. My husband was in the restaurant business. It was going under. We were $800,000 in debt, about to lose the house. I was drinking way too much because numbing your problems is the easiest way to deal with them, but it backfires. Go ahead.
So Mel, this situation you're in, I mean, this situation the world is in, you've been here. Because I read your bio when your husband was starting that pizza restaurant and you guys were $800,000 in the hole, almost losing your money, almost losing all your savings.
No money. I mean, I couldn't pay for groceries. The bankruptcy letters were coming. The car was about to be repossessed. We had 3 kids. I was unemployed. It was so bad. I could not get my ass out of bed. I was 41 years old and I never thought that my life would turn out like this. Just like, look, you didn't choose to be in this situation with this pandemic, but you can choose how you build a response to it. And that's where I need you to focus all of your energy, all of your thoughts, that you didn't choose this anxiety crock pot we're all cooking in, but we can choose how we insulate ourselves from the uncertainty and we build emotional resilience and we ground our minds. And so I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, I would hit that snooze button.
How long ago was this, Mel?
11 years. Wow. So I couldn't get out of bed. The alarm would ring. I'd hit the snooze button 4 or 5 times. My mind would be full of all of the problems, all of the uncertainty. How the fuck am I going to get out of this? I'm the worst mother. The kids have missed the bus. I hate my husband. I'm a failure. All of it. It was like the weighted blanket psychologically keeping me in bed. And so my life changed, and you can change your life with one decision. In fact, I think we're all just one decision away from a totally different life. And if you make the decision today, after watching this and listening to this, to change how you think, your whole life will change. And so what happened for me is one night I was watching TV and I was giving myself this little pep talk, like, all right, I got to pull it together. I got to stop drinking. I got to find a job. I got to stop screaming at my husband. I got to start talking to my friends. I got to do something. I got to change. And I see this rocket ship launch across the television screen. And it gave me this crazy idea that maybe if I launched myself out of bed, if I move fast enough, maybe I'd move fast enough and I'd be gone before the anxiety and depression hit. Maybe there was a window of time where you could move before the anxiety and depression, boom, takes you down. Now, look, I had 4 Manhattans that night, so I was pretty plowed because it sounds like a stupid idea. You know what I'm saying? But for whatever reason, I'll never forget it. It was a Tuesday morning in February outside of Boston, Massachusetts. That alarm went off. And here's the thing I want everybody to understand. Your whole life comes down to micro changes. And these changes happen in a 5-second window. There's a 5-second window between feeling the terror of this moment and finding courage, or feeling the terror of this moment and having a panic attack. There's a 5-second window between feeling motivated to go for a walk or to sit down and focus. And 5 seconds later, you've talked yourself out of it. Everything happens in this 5-second window, and that's where the power is. So that morning, Tuesday in February, 11 years ago, the alarm goes off. Now, I immediately remembered I should get out of bed. Just like you know exactly what you should be doing, or the small things that will make your day a little bit better. I knew it, but then this 5-second moment of hesitation opens up. And I started thinking about what I needed to do instead of doing it. And that's where all of the emotion and all the anxiety and all the depression, it comes right into this 5-second moment of hesitation. I could feel myself reaching for the snooze button because it was a habit. I did it every single morning as avoidance and denial and numbing. But then I did something that I'd never done in my life. I started counting backwards, just like the space programs do when they launch a rocket. Works in any language, only works if you count backwards, does not work if you count up. Started counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just like a rocket launch. And boom, I stood up. It was this craziest thing. And that was that. The next morning, I used it again. The next morning, I used it again. By the third morning, I thought this is very weird. But I was so desperate, I said, instead of getting resigned and cynical, why don't you just test this thing? Anytime you're in a moment, Mel, where you don't feel like doing something, or you're emotionally triggered, or procrastination's kicking in, or fear or anxiety, just count backwards. Let's see what happens. I'll be damned. Counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It made me pick up the phone and start looking for a job. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I put the booze over here and walked in that direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I settle my nervous system. Instead of screaming at my husband, Chris, I'm able to talk to him calmly. Using this tool, my whole life changed. Now, I never intended to tell anybody because it sounds stupid and I didn't know why it worked. No idea. And that all changed in 2011 when I was asked to give that TEDx talk. Now, by this point, I had gotten a job. Chris's restaurants were turning around because he was using the 5-second rule to make the courageous decisions that he had been avoiding. Everything was great. And somebody asked me to give a talk about finding a new job, about careers, about goals. That was the TEDx talk. I used the 5-second rule for 3 years to change my own life. I used it in secret. I didn't talk about it. It was a little self-coaching tool that was just incredible. It gives you instant motivation, instant courage, instant 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 push that you need to do the things that will change your life. So I get asked to give a TEDx talk about how you change your career. It was not about the 5-second rule. That was the first speech I'd ever given in my life. If you want to know what it looks like to have a 21-minute long panic attack, watch my TED talk. If you look closely.
For people who are going to be looking for this TED Talk, is this the one called How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over?
Yes.
Amazing.
And I
22 million views. Amazing.
Yes, you can watch it. I literally have a bright red rash on my neck as I'm talking. All the anxiety coming. I forgot how to end the thing. I casually mentioned the 5-second rule at the end because I forgot what I was supposed to talk about. A year goes by. Nothing changes in my life. And all of a sudden somebody reaches out on Facebook and asked me to speak. And they said that they had seen the speech in San Francisco. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, it's on Facebook. I'm like, it's on Facebook. They had put it on Facebook. It had like 1 million views. So I started being asked to speak about the 5-second rule, and it became this organic phenomenon. And, I spoke for free about it for a couple of years, and then I realized everybody at these events but me was getting paid, and I'm a moron. And about 4 years ago, or 5 years ago now, I started speaking professionally, and I became the most booked female speaker in the world.
What?
And
Congratulations. That is
thank you.
amazing.
Thank you. 111 speeches in 2018. And then we focused on launching a talk show. But so the thing about the 5-second rule is it's not mine, it's for the world. And what I'm really excited and why I'm excited to come back to teaching it to you and how you use it with identifying triggers and with anchor thoughts is it's way more than a motivational tool. It is a weapon that you can use against programming in your mind that you want to upgrade. And here's how you're going to use it. Because it's being used by healthcare practitioners in psychiatric practices. It's being used in inpatient settings in psychiatric hospitals. It is being used by pediatricians to help kids with anxiety. It's being used by veterans organizations to help people with PTSD. It is a fundamental science-backed tool that is classified as a starting ritual in habit research. A starting ritual is something you can use to trick your own mind. See, all of the negative shit that you do, whether it's procrastinating or worrying or anxiety, it's all stored right here in this part of your brain. This part of your brain automates all your behavior. Any negative pattern that you feel like you don't want anymore in your life, we can interrupt that pattern and we can replace it with a new pattern. But first you got to learn to interrupt the pattern. And so what happens when you use the 5-second rule is counting backwards does something really powerful. When you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it requires focus when you first start using it, which is this puppy right here, the prefrontal cortex. When you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the counting draws your focus to your prefrontal cortex and awakens it. So by the time you get to 1, the part of the brain that is responsible for courage, for learning new behavior, for strategic decision-making, and for being intentional and conscious has just woken up. The act of counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is an intentional act that interrupts a pattern of worrying or a pattern of negative self-talk or a pattern of anxiety that's automated. The act of counting is the first thing you choose to do to say, screw you, I'm not going to listen to that. By the time you get to 1, your mind is now primed to receive different information because it's ready to focus on something. So when you identify all the triggers that trigger you to feel anxious or worry or out of control right now, what you're now going to do is we're going to come up with a pattern that we want to replace. Because if your coping mechanism for anxiety in the morning is to lie in bed and to feel anxious as hell and to start getting depressed and then to sleep till noon, we want to replace that with getting up and getting out of bed and getting outside. And this change is going to happen in a 5-second window. So we identify the trigger. I feel depressed. I stay in bed. I oversleep. I don't get up. Then I wake up and feel horrible. Okay, that's the trigger, the morning, the alarm goes off. Great. We're going to use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to replace it with a different behavior that you've already planned. I'm getting up. It doesn't matter how I feel. I'm getting up. It might be that your coping mechanism is to hit the bong or to drink too much at night because that's the only way you can get your mind to quiet down, right? Because we all are feeling something right now called moral fatigue. Have you heard this term before? Moral fatigue, really important to understand. If you feel like you're more exhausted than ever and you don't understand why because you're just sitting on your ass all day, let me tell you why you're exhausted right now, like exhausted in your bones, and why at the end of the day, you just want to numb out. So here's why. A month or 2 months ago, depending upon where you live in the world, going to the store and buying milk was a very automated proposition. You got to the store, walked in, you got your milk, you left. Now it requires complex processing. It requires your prefrontal cortex to fire up and go, okay, wait, do I have a mask? Do I have supplies? Is the store going to be open? Is there going to be a line? As you're driving along or riding your bike or walking, you see all these people with their masks on and it feels dystopian and weird and people are frowning and it feels scary. And then you go into the store and you're thinking, should I touch this? Should I not touch this? Should I pull out my money? Is there going to be milk? Did somebody touch the milk thing? Should I decontaminate? Does a virus live on plastic? Is it cold? Is it not cold? Should I say hi to this person? Am I standing too close to the cash register? Why can't I come up to the thing? When is this going to end? So by the time you get home, you've basically taken a standardized test. Your mind is like, oh, God. So if you're having a hard time focusing right now, it's because of what they call moral fatigue. Your mind is having to make big moral calls about every small aspect of life right now. It is gassing you. Your brain is so out of fuel. Your mind is so tired. So your butt may be in the same chair all day long. Your mind has just run 4 marathons. It's exhausted. So if you notice that you're making unhealthy choices or that you worry the most at night, that's a trigger. So the sun going down might be a trigger. It's a huge trigger for a lot of people. You want to know why? The reason why the sun going down is a huge trigger for a lot of people is that's when they're typically, if you grew up in a house with a lot of conflict, the fighting happened at night. So parents coming home from work puts you in a state, whether you realize it or not, of feeling on edge, that something's coming. And so it can be very hard for people that grew up in households with a lot of trauma and conflict to relax at night, which is why it's easy to reach for the booze or the weed or the whatever to zone out. And so instead you could go to Mind Valley and do one of the yoga classes. You could make it a practice that you're going to watch a whole series of documentaries instead, that you're going to have a choice in place because you know the trigger's coming. Now, when it comes to worry, what you need to do is, again, this comes to one of the things that I've been doing is when I notice that my mind starts to go too far in the future, because lately this is what I've been worried about. And this is a very, this is a luxurious worry. But the thing that I've been thinking a lot about is, oh my God, what happens if our 21-year-old and our 19-year-old can't go back to college this fall? That is going to be a nightmare for me because they're going to be here in the house and I'm going to be, but I think about also, when am I going to get back on the speaking circuit? When am I going to be able to be out with people at events? When are we going to be able to get back to things? When I start to go there and I start to feel a level of spinning, I catch myself because it's not going to serve me to worry. That's what everybody needs to understand. Your worrying is not helping you. It's hurting you. And so when I notice my own mind start to go to that place, I use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's like going, giving yourself, your brain a little slap. I awaken this. And then at my desk, I'm not sitting at my desk because we went to my mother-in-law's place in Vermont, but I have a photo of Lake Michigan. I grew up in Muskegon, Michigan. And the state park there is on Lake Michigan, one of the Great Lakes here in the United States. And it's a beautiful freshwater lake with sand dunes and seagrass, just beautiful. And so I have a photo of it. And the reason why I have a photo of it is because it is a visual anchor that reminds me that better days are coming. It's a visual anchor that reminds me that when all of this is over and we flatten the curve together, and I emerge back into public life, the first place I'm going to go is to see my folks. And I'm going to walk out onto that beach. And so everybody should think about what is the one thing you want to do when this is over that you can't do right now?
You know, I want to travel. I want to get on stage again. I want to speak again. I've had so many, just like you, I was supposed to speak at South by Southwest and so many amazing events. All of that got dashed.
So pick one. I want everybody to pick one. So you pick. Okay, so South by Southwest. So what I want you to do is I want you to find an image of a particular stage, because I know there's millions of them there, that you really see yourself, or the sea of people, or the big thing. But the vision that really represents that moment when you are out in public with that many people able to share all of these amazing ideas and talk about this incredible community that you've built. And what you'll notice is that our minds are like boats. And if a boat isn't anchored, it will go with a current and drift away. And the current right now everywhere is extraordinarily negative. Nobody needs to turn on the news. You don't. I can tell you what's happening. People are dying. You're supposed to stay in your house, and we're working on finding a test and a vaccine. That's it.
Right.
Other than that, there's nothing else new going on. That's it. Believe me, when the stay-at-home orders are lifted, everybody will text you. You don't have to have the news on. But the current right now is super duper negative. And so it's easy to have your mind drift. So you need things to anchor you. A photo of the thing you're going to do, like your photo of South by Southwest and my photo of the shores of Lake Michigan, that is what they call an environmental trigger. That positive environmental trigger anchors your mind in the positive thought that this is going to pass. This is temporary. I'm going to get through this. And when I do, I'm going to go do this thing that I care about. That brings you back into being able to be in the moment and remind yourself, I'm okay. And when something happens that I need to worry about, that's when I'll worry about it. But right now I'm okay, and this is temporary. And that, by simply redirecting your mind all day long, you will train your brain, no joke, to start to spot the positive, optimistic things, even in this moment. I'm still in the mindset that I was in 2008 when Chris and I went bankrupt.
Which is, I need to get as
scarcity.
Yeah. Man, really?
Yes, that's the big insight I've had during this pandemic. Yeah.
Shut up.
Shut up. We're going to talk about it.
No, I'm just saying shut up because that's crazy to hear you say that.
Well, yeah, because we shouldn't be talking. We should just be going. Well, you're recording all this, so you can put it any way you want.
Yeah, we could add it in here, but.
No, honestly, so if you get into a situation where you nearly lose everything. And look, I know you've been on your sister's couch, you've been down and out, you've had to reinvent yourself. We could be the reinvention twins, the two of us.
We could be.
Yes, and the thing is though, is that if you get in that moment where you can't pay for groceries, where you think your car is going to get repossessed, where you can't pay for your kids' town soccer league, like that is low. When as a parent, you can't provide what you want to provide for your kids. You don't ever want to be in that situation again. And so when I started to claw my way out of that, Lewis, and I started making money and Chris started getting his restaurant business back on the rails, I mean, we were still $800,000 in debt. It was 3 years worth of trying to make the ends meet. And when I gave that TEDx talk in 2011, that was 3 years after I discovered the 5-second rule. I had a full-time job with benefits, and we were still massively in debt. There were still liens on the house. And after that TEDx talk, which is what launched the speaking business, as people started to book me and I started making money, I was like a squirrel with a freaking nut, man. A dollar came in, I'm like, put it away, put it away, put it away,
Right.
put it away, put it away. And every time a speech came, you know what everybody said as I started to explode on the speaking circuit is, oh, speakers get hot. You're going to be the hot speaker in, 2017, and then take everything you can get. And I just
then they're
said
on
yes.
to the next speaker. Yeah.
And so I figured it was just a fad. And so I said yes to everything. And I have become addicted to being busy. And it is driven when I'm present from making an impact. But if I'm honest, it is mostly driven from that mentality from 2008, the fear that this could all disappear.
Wow. We both went through our own, I guess, identity shift and dream death or ego death in 2008 with me from football and you with your career and everything. To give people context, because I'm just going to roll with this from what you just shared. Mel Robbins has been a friend of mine for years. You've come and spoke at Summit of Greatness. You've been on the show a few times before, and you've exploded in the last 4 years, really, with everything you've been talking about, from speaking to the 5-second rule to the Mel Robbins show, which was a big hit. But then, in the middle of pandemic, that dream just ended, and we're talking about, a big revelation for you, which is scarcity. And this is something we teach all the time, to be in abundance and don't have a scarce mindset. But you're saying that you feel like you've been in scarcity still for the last 3 years.
Yeah. Like
in some way, obviously abundance of like, I can do everything, but in some way you felt.
Yeah. There have been modes where I've said yes to things, Lewis, because I've been afraid that all of my good fortune would disappear. And if I had to take a look at one of the biggest lessons from the pandemic that COVID-19 created, I call it the Great Pause, where all of us were forced to take a gigantic pause from our everyday life. And I need to qualify what I'm about to say by also saying that we have not lost a family member. We have not had the, we don't have anybody. My dad is retired, so we don't have an essential worker at a hospital or a grocery store. So yeah. I am speaking about the impact of COVID-19 without having lost a loved one. And so the Great Pause that basically had my talk show end abruptly. We got 5 minutes notice. We're told to evacuate CBS Broadcast Center. And all of a sudden, it was over. 139 people, no goodbyes.
Oh my goodness.
175 shows, no thank yous. We finished taping. I walked into the control room. My executive producer, Mindy Borman, turned to me and said they found COVID in the building. She started tearing up. Everybody, this has been remarkable. It's a wrap. We're the last show in the building. CBS let us finish taping. They're sealing off the building. I literally ran up
in the middle of a show.
Yes, no. This was March 11th, and we had already stopped down audiences, and so I ran upstairs to the apartment in CBS, which was like our green room. I grabbed everything that was possibly not nailed down. Don't tell Sony I took a bunch of the blazers. And I'm still a farm girl from the Midwest at heart. Grab them, go. Who's going to know that they're missing? And so and that was it. I mean, it was so awful because it felt like the biggest dream of my life, which was to host a daytime syndicated talk show and give advice to people 5 days a week on television who had no access to therapy, didn't have the time for personal development, make it entertaining, accessible. My whole dream, boom, in 5 minutes flat, done, no completion, disruption. That was it. And then 2 days later, Houghton Mifflin, which was my publisher for my next book, started laying people off, and they called me and said, we need to cancel the book contract.
No, I did not.
Yeah, they did. Well, in their defense, Lewis, I was a year late in delivering.
Okay, yeah. So if you would have done it on time, yeah, it'd have been out.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
You had a talk show to do.
Dyslexia strikes again.
Exactly.
And then it started to be like, this speech is canceled, and this speech is canceled, and this speech is canceled, and basically, once Microsoft announced that there were no events happening until June 2021. The speaking business, at least the corporate speaking business, is basically on hold for in-person events for over a year. And in a matter of a week, I saw my entire runway shut down. And what's so interesting is you and I have both, in 2008, like so many of your listeners, the first recession just rocked my life to rock bottom. And when rock bottom hits, you don't have to hit with a thud. Oftentimes when you hit bottom, you bounce. And that's where I think the power is, that when the world feels upside down, you always have the power to make it right. When one chapter ends, you always have the power to write a new one. When, you feel like nobody loves you, you have the power to learn how to love yourself. And if there's one thing that COVID-19 has done, regardless of whatever devastation it has caused in your life, is it has forced us all to experience the Great Pause. And I read that in a Medium article, and I loved that idea of a pause, because I think in 2020, our lives have gotten so fast and so digital. And when you are forced to pause and get present and to slow down, you are reminded of what's actually important. And what's important is your health. What's important is your family and your friends. What's important is whether or not you are taking care of yourself and thinking positive thoughts versus negative thoughts. The world gave us a gigantic experiment where we got to practice and get to continue to practice the most important skill on the planet, which is emotional resilience, the ability to face hard and actually be okay, the ability to face the uncertain and redirect your attention on things that you know that are certain. And so I am so grateful that we had this time, because when I think about my family, so we've got a 21-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 15-year-old, we will never get these 10 weeks back again. It was a gift. As much as our two daughters who are in college were complete when they got home, it was a gift.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, for that generation, by the way, for them to learn, the generation where everybody gets a trophy, that the things that you love can be taken away like that. That there are things in life that are way more important than your prom or rush
Or graduation
or graduation. Not to say that you don't deserve to mourn those things, but the perspective check that you got from COVID-19, and, you know, it really hit home because one of our daughters has a very close friend in college whose dad died, who's my age. And no prior conditions, nothing. And I think when change hits and it's personal, that's when the perspective shift comes. And so between COVID-19 and the fight for social justice that we're seeing with the Black Lives Matter movement and all of the protesting going on, it's been a really remarkable moment of time if you pause for a minute and you reflect on the opportunity of this moment.
What is the opportunity?
The opportunity is to unlock the power that's inside you to create a better future for yourself, for your family, for your body, for your mind, for your spirit, for this country, for this world, for your community.
Yeah. I always talk about, since I experience many breakdowns, whether it be a physical breakdown or relationship breakdown or family breakdowns, I feel like in order for us to really see clearly, we need to break down in a big way. It's hard to make big changes when things are good or when they're so-so. It's even when it's like, it's not good, it's hard to make changes. It needs to be devastatingly challenging for a lot of us. Some of us maybe can make changes all the time, but for most people, there needs to be some devastation or near devastation, either personally or close to you, to say, oh, let me reevaluate, let me pause, like you talked about, and start creating a better future for myself. Why do you think that is in human beings, that, you know, if things are going bad, we won't change? If they're going good, we won't change, but it's almost like we need a massive breakdown, near-death experience, divorce, COVID, for us to see clearly to start changing?
Well, there's a really simple answer: patterns. So the thing about all human beings is that we are pattern learning machines. And if you feel stuck or broken, I guarantee you, while you feel that way, you're not. You have a pattern of behavior or a pattern of thinking that is broken. And we need to be disrupted because we love our patterns. And even people that I know, like
even when we're in pain, even when we're in pain, we love the pain.
Pain's familiar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like you may be listening to Lewis and I talking, and you grew up in a super chaotic household. Maybe your parents argued all the time. Maybe your dad or mom were in and out. Maybe there was a lot of fighting. Maybe there was actual abuse. I don't know what was going on, but it was chaotic as hell. And so as an adult, you have vowed to yourself, you are not going to repeat that pattern. But what ends up happening is, because as a little kid, you observed, witnessed, absorbed the pattern of chaos in your nervous system, unless you go about the intentional work of breaking the pattern of chaos, you will create it in your own life because it's what's familiar. You won't understand. Why do I keep dating these assholes? Why do I go to these bosses that treat me like crap? Because you don't know what it feels like to be in a relationship with either a boss or a romantic partner or a roommate that is consistent, because for the first 18 years of your life, you lived in a state called, when's the next shoe going to drop?
Right.
And so wherever it is in your life that something is broken, there is a pattern that you don't see yet that is making you continue to stay in a broken situation. And so one of the things that you just asked, which is why is a perspective change or losing a job or something like that that's so disruptive? Because those sorts of things, COVID-19 breaks every pattern.
Yes.
Black Lives Matter.
Yep.
Yes. Black Lives Matter breaks patterns of thinking that you weren't even aware that you had about privilege or being anti-racist or what your Black colleagues and friends and relatives deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so having a breakdown is one of the biggest things on the planet, because what you get is you get a break from your own bullshit, and you can look objectively at where you are, and for the first time look ahead and say, well, what do I want to go create? And 9 times out of 10, if you're discouraged right now, if you've got financial devastation, if you're facing something that is making this moment in time as hard for you as life was for Lewis and I in 2008 during the last recession, I beg you, ask yourself honestly if what you had is actually what you wanted. The thing that you just lost, that job that you bitched about all the time,
that relationship that was bad to you. Yeah.
Yes. Or the friends you can't hang out with because it's convenient and you're in quarantine. Like, actually ask yourself if this is what you wanted, or were you just used to it? Being used to something, Lewis, I think is the biggest reason why people don't change. I asked my mother, I love my mother. I love my parents. They've been married 51 years. Which is a feat because my mom was a teen mom. But I asked her once if she'd go to a personal development seminar with me.
What'd you say?
Are you kidding me? Why would I want to change at my age?
Oh, wow.
I might discover I hate my life.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave that right there.
Right. I mean,
I think being used to what you have. I mean, I even our son is, so I'm here in Vermont at my mother-in-law's place, and our son is going to go to high school in Vermont. And so we're going to kind of split our time back and forth between my mother-in-law's place and our place in Boston, because God knows what business is going to be like. And, why would you need an office after COVID-19? Right. Another amazing thing to realize, even that change, I notice my own agitation, my own anxiety coming up. Will I make friends? Will I like a slower lifestyle? What happens if Chris likes it up here and I hate it up here? My own mind, because it's not something I'm used to yet, is making up stories to cling to the old way of life. This is a moment in time, everyone, please. This is the greatest gift. The greatest gift is this moment of pause where you get in touch with what you actually want. And if you don't have the skills, for crying out loud, look around and take an online course, because if you need skills to prepare yourself for the thing that you want, get them right now.
How do we bring that list into this whole approach? So there was the list, there's the 5-second rule, and then there's that trigger, that positive trigger. How do we put all 3 of these tools together? Excellent question. So number 1, you're going to make a list of everything that triggers you. It could be the time of day. It could be a thought. It could be a certain news headline. It could be a certain thought, worried that maybe your mom or your dad is going to get this, or somebody that you love. Could be a thought. A lot of people I've noticed have a lot of thoughts right now about their own health. And so that's that. Whatever the trigger is that causes you to start to worry, write them all down. So now you know they're coming. Whenever one of them hits your brain, you're drifting down the negative current. Use the 5-second rule, count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to anchor yourself back down. Now, on the list of triggers that you have, what you're going to do is you're going to write down either an alternative thought
hey, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Right now I'm safe. If I have to worry about, I'll worry about it when it happens. Saying it's not going to happen is not a great reframe, because most people don't believe that. They're worried it's going to happen. So you're going to write down your triggers.
Yeah, give me an example with you. Okay, so for example, for me, a worrying thought is, I don't know when my kid's school is going to open again, right?
Okay.
And you're wondering the same thing. When are your kids going to be allowed to go back to college? So that would be one of the things that's worrying us. What would be the positive vision to that?
Okay, so the way that I've handled that, and again, you got to figure out what triggers you and what's going to ground you back into the present, is I don't need to know right now. At some point it's going to reopen and they'll go back then. What I've done is I've said in my mind, they're going back in January. And that means that since there's so much uncertainty, you can hack certainty two ways. One is creating a daily routine that gives you certainty right now, because you can count on your routine being predictable, and predictability gives you emotional safety. Two, you can create your own milestones based on what you know from the World Health Organization and based on your own critical thinking. Me personally, I don't think there's any coming out of this where I live until mid-July, maybe. And I don't think there's any way, given that my daughters go to big universities, that they will be ready this fall. So my mind goes, I'm not even thinking about it, because I think it's January 1.
Right.
And if it happens sooner, fantastic. Now, what I say to my kids is this. I say, look, your whole life changed dramatically in the last 6 weeks. And school doesn't reopen for another 3 or 4 months. The smartest people on the planet are working on this problem. And so if your life can change for the negative in 6 weeks, it could also change in the positive in the next 6 weeks. We just don't know. But just feel good knowing the smartest people in the world are all working on the same problem. And that's a really good thing.
Yeah, that's really true. And that gives me so much hope. Just before you, I was speaking to Stephen Kotler, the famous writer and futurist, and he said, never before in the history of science and humanity have we had this many of the world's talent working together to solve one singular problem.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, now, so we have the list. Yep. We have that future vision, whether it's speaking on a particular stage or our kids going back to school. How do we apply the 5-second rule?
So when you feel yourself getting triggered, so think about when you get triggered, you typically feel it in your body first. Is it the pit in your stomach? Is it the heart racing? Is it the hair on end? What is it? Start to identify that, the thoughts that swirl. The second you feel that coming on, we're interrupting that response. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then drop in whatever thought you're replacing the worry with. My kids are going to go back in January. I don't need to worry about this.
Right. I like that. It's so simple, yet so effective.
Well, the reason why is because you're planning this ahead of time. You see what triggers you coming, and then you have a plan to replace it before it escalates and hijacks your ability to think. Because the more stressed out you get from worrying, cortisol floods your mind, makes it really, really difficult to engage your prefrontal cortex, makes it very difficult to focus on anything else. So we want to see it coming, use the 5-second rule to interrupt the automated nature of it and engage your prefrontal cortex before cortisol takes over. And because you have a go-to thought, you'll be able to switch it up immediately. Having the go-to thought is critical. Look, I heard from a COVID-19 ICU nurse who's using this same exact method all day long to keep herself from succumbing to terror and emotional overwhelm. And what triggers her, they have to wear like double and triple layers right now in the IC COVID units. And so it's super hot and really suffocating because you're so bundled up and nobody can really see your face. And so when she walks into a patient's room and they shut the door behind her, she gets a surge. I don't know if I can handle this. She has an immediate trigger that I got to run. This is too much. I feel like I'm suffocating. What if I bring this back to my family? She's using 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 all day long to close the window on the terror, take a deep breath, and move forward toward the checklist. And that's how she's getting through her day. And it's working because she has a plan, knowing it's coming. See, most of us hate our anxiety and our worry and our fears so much that when we feel it coming up, we're like, oh shit, here it is. Oh, I don't want to feel it. And then we get all worked up because we're feeling anxious again, which only makes it worse. So this is a simple 3-step plan, list of triggers, 5-second rule, and a list of things you're going to think of instead. And now you're equipped to have the emotional resilience and the mental flexibility to switch gears so you can take control. I want to take another question from Louise in the UK.
Hey Mel, it's Lou from the UK. I have a question for you. I am no longer in my corporate career and after 25 years, and I really want to use this time to do something that I'm really passionate about, coaching other people. I've got the qualifications. It's just the confidence that's stopping me. How can I get past the fear of judgment of others to really put myself out there and follow my passion rather than making myself go back to a corporate career that doesn't light me up? Thanks.
Oh, Lou, it's your lucky day, man, because you got Amy Porterfield in the house. So how do you deal with the fear of rejection?
What are people going to think if I'm selling my REITs? What are people going to think if I call myself a coach?
Okay, so first of all, notice in that question she said, I'm qualified. And then she just brushed right over it. That's the thing. And then she said, how do I find the confidence? You don't. It does not start with confidence. You have to tap into courage first. And this is a mindset shift right here.
Okay, stop. You don't tap into confidence, everybody.
No.
You're not going to feel confident is what you're saying.
It's never going to show up in the beginning.
Okay, so you got to tap into courage. So please explain what that means to Lou or anybody listening who's like, okay, I got my idea. I got the wreaths. I got the streaming online. I got the coaching business. Now I'm doubting myself.
Yes, I'm looking for confidence everywhere. Confidence comes from a proven track record of something you want to do. You look and think, oh, I've done this, so I can keep going. You've never done this. She doesn't want to do what she did in her 9-to-5 job. She wants to start something new. That's uncharted territory.
Yes.
There's no confidence in that. So what she needs to do is first say, I'm going to find the courage to do this. Courage is taking the leap of faith, knowing everything I've done in my life, I've literally gotten to this point. I've overcome all of my obstacles. I'm alive. I'm here. She has a proven track record of being resilient, of showing up, doing the work. She said, I have the experience. I'm qualified. So we're going to tap into courage saying, well, then I'm going to create something new based on the fact that my track record is I can figure this out.
You know what I love about this? It's a way to basically just whack self-doubt away. Because what you're saying is, all right, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this before. Not feeling that confident. Imposter syndrome is kind of coming up. I have the courage to try.
Yes.
I have the courage to keep going. I can tap into this thing inside me to say, I know I'm nervous. I know I'm this, but I'm going to fucking do it.
I'm going to do it. Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Exactly. And so that part is so important. We're not going to chase confidence anymore. The other thing is when I left my 9-to-5 job, I got home, my first day on the job, I'm in my kitchen at my kitchen table, kind of typing away and freaked out thinking, what did I do? And I started to make videos, and I would make these videos about marketing and funnels and all this stuff and publish them nowhere. And my husband would say, I see you making these videos, but you're doing nothing with them. Why not? And I said, I'm so afraid what my old coworkers are going to think about me doing this. They're going to see these videos where I'm not good on video yet, so I look like a mess. And they're going to think, who is she? She looks like a fool. Who does she think she is? She doesn't know what she's doing. So I didn't move forward in this dream I had because I was afraid of what they were thinking. And here's the truth. One, they're not even paying that close of attention. People are are into their own lives. They're doing their own thing. And any opinion they'd have of me making videos is a direct reflection of their opinion if they could do it as well. They didn't leave their job yet. They're not going after it. So they're going to tell me all the reasons why I shouldn't, or I am not going to make this work.
Here's two pieces that I would add to that. Okay. Lou, if you wouldn't trade your life with them,
yes.
Why the fuck would you listen to their advice?
Yes.
That's number one. Because people who have not done what you want to do have no clue what it takes to get there. So stop looking in the rearview mirror. You're not heading in that direction. Second thing I want to say, the second that you decide that you're going to pivot your life, your social media is not for your friends.
Yes,
if you could get this concept into your head, your social media is not for your friends. Your social media is for you and your dreams and your self-expression. And it's meant to put something out in the world intentionally so that people who are looking for you and who need you can find you. That is what social media is for. If you want to share photos of your kids with your friends, text them to them. But when you get serious about making a pivot in your life, the inbound of social media is your board of directors. It's your board of advisors. It's the way that you do total immersion, as Amy just said, into who you're becoming. Your outbound, what you post, is meant to be something like a beacon that draws in the kind of people that are interested in this. And when you can get clear, it's not for your fucking ex-coworkers. It's not for your relatives. It's not for your family. It is not for your friends. I think most of my long-term friends do not follow me because I post 3 times a day and it would choke their feed. And, you know, if they want to catch up with me, they'll text me.
Right.
And by the way, they're not into what I do.
Yes.
They're not into personal development. And so why would they follow me? I'm not putting it out there for anybody else but the people who find value in it. And when you can wrap that around your brain, it'll change your freaking life.
I mean, that's a great example of unbossing. You have the courage to put out content that you know is no longer for your friends to see, your kids or whatever, but I'm going to put stuff out there that's going to attract people that I can serve.
Yeah. You think the CEO of Coca-Cola worries about what their ex-colleagues think about their new marketing campaign?
Amen.
No.
We often say that about Beyonce. Do you think Beyonce or Oprah are sitting there thinking, I don't know if I could do this. What are people going to think about me if I put it out there? They're not thinking that way.
And now she has the world's
Yes.
most Grammys of any recording artist ever to fucking prove that if you just find the courage, forget about confidence. It'll come later. Find the courage to try. Make the damn wreaths.
Yes.
Say you're going to do the online exercise thing. Say you're going to figure this thing out. Do it. So I promised you an exercise because step 1 is you have to get honest with yourself and claim what you want. That's step 1. And so I'm going to tell you that. And I want you to think about your dream. I want you to think about what's calling you. I want you to think about the thing that would be so magical if you could make it happen, but you've been arguing against yourself. And I want you to allow yourself to claim it. And as you sit there and think about the dream in your own life, let's go back to Los Angeles. Let's go back to that stage. And let's check in with Barbara because I'm going to ask her to start getting honest. And what I want you to pay attention to is I want you to pay attention to how much she starts to joke and make excuses and dismiss how serious I am about dreams. Maybe you needed to move to South Florida to actually feel and understand in your soul who you are and what you want. It's a scary thing to admit what you want.
Yeah.
Because it's true. It might not happen.
Right. Yeah. And it's not, I've come so close to it happening so many times and it hurts so much. It's all so scary. There's part of me that's like, no, don't do that.
But why is it scary?
Because I don't want to go into debt and I want to like be at least somewhere. So I thought, well, I have this,
But here's what I want you to understand. You have not gotten honest with yourself about what you actually want. You're putting all the energy into, but I don't want to go into debt, but I don't want to do this, but I don't want to do that.
So then you do that anyway.
Yes.
That's the first step, honesty. And it's very sobering when you get honest. Because for many of us, I mean, look at me. I spent 11 years making excuses for why I couldn't start a podcast. And all those excuses and the dancing around and the, brushing it off and the, I'm not really that serious about it. It's painful. Your dream isn't painful. Like she's talking about how scared she is that the dream's not going to turn out. What's actually painful is how much energy you're putting into avoiding what you want and what you deserve. And the three big ways that we extinguish that flame inside of us and we put distance between ourselves and the dreams that are meant for us is, number one, we literally downplay them. Anytime you make a joke about your dream, anytime you're like, I'm not that serious about it, you are putting distance between you and your dream. You're taking a bucket of water and you're trying to extinguish the flame inside you. Anytime you make excuses, I don't have the money, I can't do it, I don't have the time, blah, 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 blah. Same thing. Cold bucket of water on that flame. Stop doing it. And the third thing, when she really gets honest, when you have that moment of reckoning with yourself and you can claim what you want, it's terrifying. It really is, because you allow yourself to feel desire. You allow yourself for just a second to feel possibility. Just imagine how incredible it would be to do a stadium tour and sing your own songs. And when you allow yourself to entertain the fact that that's the dream that's meant for you, you allow yourself to stand close to that flame. You allow it to burn a little brighter. And then we get scared. What if it doesn't happen? And you convince yourself that your dream is scary. And your dream isn't scary at all. Your excuses and your fear of it and your joking is what's scary. And so how do you keep this dream alive? And this is a really important exercise, particularly for those of you who say, I don't know what I want, Mel. I don't know what my dream is. I have a very simple exercise that I have taught to hundreds of thousands of people. It's backed by science. And this is an exercise that is going to help you get back in touch with dreaming. See, I think part of the problem is that we've all gotten into this mode where we don't want to get our expectations up. So we put a lid on our own desires. We don't allow ourselves to want what we want. We don't allow ourselves to be in touch with the things that we really long for. And it's the fact that you won't even give yourself permission to dream. That's also making you feel unworthy. And so how are we going to tap back into this dream inside you? How are we going to get your desires flowing freely? How are we going to get you to start to believe that you're worthy of the things that you long for? I'll tell you how. It's very simple. Every single morning, you are going to make a cup of coffee or tea, and as part of your morning routine, you are simply going to write down 5 dreams a day. That's it. 5 dreams a day. You are going to make it a habit to claim what you want, if only by writing it on a piece of paper. And having taught this to hundreds of thousands of people, I already know what your questions are going to be. Are they the same things I write down? Are they big things? Are they little things? Are they things that can happen? What are they, Mel? Here's how you're going to do this. Do not overthink it. Sit down. You have a blank piece of paper. And just write down 5 things you want. It could be, I want that new Gucci handbag. And you might not be able to pay for groceries right now. It might be, I want my puppy to stop pooping on the living room rug. It might be, I want to be the #1 podcast host in the world. It might be, I want to do a stadium tour. I want to write a song that helps heal the world. I want to have a wonderful relationship with my mom, who I currently hate. Your dreams are yours. Do not judge them. Do not shrink them. This exercise is about clearing out the blockage and the gunk that has blocked the highway between your heart and your soul and what you will give yourself permission to want and desire in your life. Your self-doubt, your feeling that you're not worthy, your excuses, your people-pleasing, it's all blocking your access to this longing, to this dream within you. And so we got to just get the gears turning. We got to get these, like, kind of the, I don't even know what you call it, but this is a way to, like, grease the gears and get you free flowing. Why shouldn't you do a stadium tour? Why shouldn't you have that new Gucci handbag if that's what you want? You can certainly do the work to get it. Why shouldn't you be happy or healthy or heal your cancer? These dreams are there for a reason. We got to get them out of your head where you bury them with excuses, and we got to get them into the world in real time where you can see them on a piece of paper. Now, reason #1 why you're going to do this: 5 dreams a day. They can be the same dreams. They can be different dreams. They can be big dreams. They can be little dreams. They can be thematic. They can be specific stuff. They can be anything you want. We just need to get your dreams and your desires flowing freely without you putting the lid on, invalidating, or arguing against them. So there's a second reason why this exercise is so effective. And it has to do with something called the Zeigarnik effect. Now, the Zeigarnik effect is a extraordinarily well-documented effect in your brain that was first discovered by a Lithuanian psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik. And she had her first study published about psychology and this theory in 1927. So this has been around for a long time. And what is the Zeigarnik effect? Well, the Zeigarnik effect is this. Inside of your brain, there is a mental checklist function. And whenever something is important to you, your brain is like, oh, ding, 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 I guess she wants to do a stadium tour. Oh, ding, 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 I guess she wants to get her cholesterol down. Whenever something's important to you, your brain takes notice. It opens up a mental checklist. And then your brain has this really interesting function where it will now work with you to help remind you of this thing that's important to do. It's like a little to-do list in your brain. And the Zeigarnik effect is once your brain knows something is important, and it's important if you keep writing it down, your brain is going to go to work trying to help you get it done. And the Zeigarnik effect is so pronounced that it is used, everybody, in software design. Yep. You know how they talk about gamification? You know how you got to fill out a form and then all of a sudden a little reminder pops up that like, you're 64% complete? Well, that's the Zeigarnik effect. That's this mental checklist thing saying you're not done yet. You got a little bit more to go. And so this is so effective. And so again, I'm going to summarize this and I'm also going to help you. If you go to melrobbins.com/dreambig, melrobbins.com/dreambig, I got a free download for you. Not only are we going to give you some of the key takeaways from this episode, but we're going to give you prompts so that you can print out this free sheet and use it every single morning to write down your 5 dreams, to tap into the Zeigarnik effect inside your brain to help you keep those dreams alive and to help you start letting your desires and your worthiness flow freely through you. Okay, so we've covered a couple key topics so far. Your dreams are not a joke. They matter. You got to claim them. This exercise of writing down 5 things you want every single morning is going to tap into that superhighway, and it's going to help you build the neural pathways to give yourself permission to want things. It's going to help you tap into this flame inside you that is burning and that is begging for you to let it help you.
When your life blows up and you find yourself in the ocean with like pieces of the boat all around, look for a fucking life preserver or a raft. Okay. So I want to applaud you for doing what needed to be done when the you know what hit the fan. That same instinct is what is going to make you successful. The second thing that I want to tell you is once you get a hold of that life raft, you want to grab something else that floats, right? And get yourself out of that water. And so I am glad to hear that you're looking for a job. Yeah. And what I would recommend is I would recommend not pretending about the situation that you're in. There is no shame in going to a job interview and at the end of it saying, and I'm asking you for this job. And the reason why I'm asking you for this job is not only because I am going to be incredible at it and you're never going to regret it, but I actually need it. I'm in a really tight jam. I had a life crisis happen. I never thought at the age of 55 I'd be in this situation, and I need the work and I want the work, which means I'm going to show up here every single day and I am going to work the heck out of this job. I've never wanted a job more than I want a job right now. And you should tell your friends that this is what you're going through and that you need help and that you need a recommendation or you need a place to stay. And you should not do what I did, which was hide what was going on because I was so ashamed. And, you know, I'm also going to tell you, it will take time. 5 years ago, I still had the liens on this house. 5 years ago, guys. And so it will take time for you to climb out of this, but you will climb out of this. When you're in a shitstorm and when the lights go out in your life and things feel really dark and really heavy, there has always been one thing that helps me get through those moments. And it's reminding myself that this moment, like every painful moment of my life, was temporary. It passed. And when you can keep telling yourself this moment it's going to pass and it's leading me somewhere, when you can trust in that, you create your own light in that dark tunnel. And it allows you to look up. And one of the things about learning something new, like how to make money online, is that it acts like a beacon for where you're freaking going.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the powerboat that gets you there right now.
I know.
Because you know what I mean? Because you need to find another freaking life jacket, which means you need to get a job. Which means you need to like just keep going on these interviews. And there's no need, like if you've gone on all these interviews and people are like, you're amazing, and then you don't get it, you think it's because you're too old or you're too desperate, they say you're a consultant. Right. There's no shame in writing back and saying, I'm not sure if you filled the position, but I didn't mention that I actually need a job.
Right.
My pride got in the way. And so if you haven't filled that position, or maybe you are looking for more people, I want to make sure you know I'm not looking to be a consultant. I've never wanted to find a great job more than ever than this moment. There's no shame in that. What's the worst they're going to say? Yeah, we filled the job.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I've been really even just struggling to even get interviews too. And it's just a funny thing, you know, and it's like, I did have like a really great.
What did you do before?
Well, I have you know, I was sort of a rock star visual researcher with directors, like, back in the day. And I took an odyssey out of that when I had my kid and went to Europe, and I had a company doing that. And recently hooked up with my old team through B School. We're starting a Pinterest collective. So I'm reactivating this whole visual research space.
Great. Let me tell you what you could do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Project management.
I don't know, girl. I'm like the worst project manager.
Bullshit. You can't manage your own life. You can manage somebody else's project.
Maybe.
1,000%. 1,000%. Do not look for a job in what you used to do.
Okay.
Look for a job managing projects in any kind of company. because you just need structure and a place to go every day and a paycheck. That's like the rows on the boat rowing you ahead.
Yeah.
And you're scrappy enough, I can tell, that you'll get annoyed with that job. And then you'll start hustling even more than you are. And you'll giddy up in the other things. But you need the structure. You need to get out of the house. You need a simple paycheck. You need to do that routine for a couple months. I am telling you, it is the best job market in 4 years. I don't give a shit how old you are.
No, I love hearing that. And I get so frustrated by that because it's like you're
looking for the wrong kind of job. You're trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. I mean,
you have skills. Stop looking at industries. You have skills. You can manage things. The woman that I just hired, who's going to come on board as my executive assistant, like organize Mel, she was a graphic designer. She worked in a branding agency. She had a dog walking. She's never been an executive assistant. Why? Right. Because I just need somebody who can organize shit who's an adult that I trust is not going to steal from me. That's what I need. And who can boss me around. Right.
Yeah, I do. I understand it. I do think I do have the adult quality, and
of course,
I definitely I'm a pro. I mean, I honestly though, Mel, I would ruin your flights. I'm the worst. I'm not a project administrative.
Then don't take that kind of job. You're not hearing me. You have skills that you can market. Do not look for a visual organizer, needle in the haystack job. Forget that. Get your skills at the top of your resume. LinkedIn has an entire learning platform, and there is so much on there about marketing skills. That's what people are hiring right now. It's not about the industry.
Yeah, I do see that. I have 8 recruiters working for me that can't place me because it's I'm an email marketer. Everything is one skill kind of, parsed out. And
trust me, look for project management, account services, anything, honestly.
Okay.
That's just what you need. You need something. At this point, don't be picky. Just
I'm not picky.
a job.
I just feel I don't get any traction with it. It's weird. It's just a weird, I'm not.
Okay. So let me tell you something else. You ready?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you don't like the advice, which means it's exactly what you need to do.
I don't know. I'm open to doing anything, but I just wish I was good at that. I've worked with project managers and I value them.
Well, then don't be a project manager. You're missing the point.
Okay.
If you're working with recruiters, they're not going to place you in a job that's general.
Right.
80% of jobs are not even marketed. They are filled by referral.
Right.
You need to be talking to your friends. You need to be looking at the job boards on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And you need to be lowering your standards because you are in a lifeboat right now.
Right.
That's what you need to do.
Okay.
And as you lower your standards on the job front, and as you start rowing in a direction, because you now have a paycheck, you're able to get out of your ex-husband's apartment every day. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about where you're at. And you have a rhythm to your week. That structure from that job is going to give you what you need to get going in a different direction.
Yeah.
You can't organize your thoughts because you're all over the place because you're in an emergency. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I want to tell you is you are capable of figuring this out. And you will get a job. And you will launch a new business. And you will make these things happen. And you will look back on this moment. And you will see exactly why this happened and how it helped you get somewhere awesome.
I believe that.
Excellent.
I totally believe that. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome. Being tough because I want to see you pull yourself up out of this. So, quick video for anyone that's going through some really confronting stuff in their personal life. That's me right now. Don't really feel ready to discuss any of the details, but it is a very challenging moment right now for me. And the waves of emotion, all of them are coming and going right now in my life. And I want to share something that I am finding helpful as I move through this really tough moment in time. I remind myself that these feelings are temporary, number one, and that helps me find strength in knowing that I'm going to learn something in this moment. I'm going to ride through this pain, and I'm going to come out stronger, and I won't always feel like that, like I do right now. The second thing is I try not to attach myself to the waves that are coming of sadness and anger and fear and frustration and just all of it. And by that, I mean I let the wave of emotion come into my body. I try not to hold on to it, grip it, attach it. I feel what I need to feel, and I breathe it out. That's number two. And number three, a lot of journaling. A lot of journaling. Just pouring out everything I'm feeling as a way to excavate it responsibly. Anyway, I wanted to make this video because I know you're probably going through something. I know you're probably experiencing waves of emotion, frustration, sadness, anger, joy, whatever it may be. You're human. This is a human experience to feel emotional waves. And so remind yourself, whether it's a high or a low, it's temporary. You can get through this. Breathe through the wave. Don't attach yourself to it and let it knock you over. And three, just dump everything you're feeling out into a journal instead of at other people. And that will help you process the emotions you need to process because you don't want to shove them down. It will help you get clear about where you want to go next and what you're meant to learn in this moment. And it will help you move through it with grace, with strength, with resilience. I hope those three things help you the way that they're helping me.
I have followed the personal development world for a really long time, and you have just inspired me to continue on my path of entrepreneurship that has taken away my doubt, the fear, the anxiety, the negative self-talk, all of those things. So I follow a lot of the personal development people, and yours has stuck the most with me. Has actually resonated and it actually has worked.
Why do you think that is?
Because, that's a great question.
Hold my hands because I can see your shape.
I am. I think you're just real about it. There's no sugarcoating it. You connect with it. It's not where you're telling us to not say do things, but the other personal development people tell you to dream big and you think these things, but it's the taking that blockage away. Okay, I want to dream to go have a house in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I'm okay, well, I'm still blocking that in my way. So I have to think about reframing my mind and all those things and how to do it.
Yeah.
And you have taught me how to do it. So I have 6 mantras that I say every morning that you have taught me.
What are they? Well, I need them.
Well, they're yours.
What are my 6 mantras that move the most for you?
So every single day, the first I say is, the world needs my story.
Yes.
I say my next chapter is just beginning.
Yes.
I say I'm growing every day.
Yes.
I say every day I'm getting stronger.
Yes.
I say what's meant for me is trying to find me.
Yes.
Which is my absolute favorite one because I had a hard time comparing myself to other people in my industry and been oh gosh, the right people aren't going to come.
What is your industry?
So I'm a professional home organizer.
Fabulous.
And so I'm everyone else is, I'm not getting the clients I want or this and that, but that one was huge.
You traveled here for this event.
Yes.
I've heard about you. Yes. I heard that you traveled here out of state to come.
I came from Charlotte.
Yes, from Charlotte to Fargo.
Yes. Well, I'm originally from Fargo.
Okay.
So this is my
But
home.
still, you traveled, so I'm going to give you credit for that. You get a high five for traveling that far.
Yes, the high five. So that, and then I'm committed to my financial freedom. And then another one that I did from meditation is abundance flows to me and abundance flows through me.
Yes.
So those are what you have taught me, and they've helped me, and I say them every day, and it has helped my mindset more than I can tenfold ever thank you for.
And you're welcome. Thank you for trying it. Because I often think that the reason why the things that I'm talking about work is because they're so damn simple.
They are.
And sometimes they sound so stupid, especially when the problems are big or the goals are big.
Yes.
But when it's simple, you can remember it. Mm-hmm. And in a moment of doubt or fear, you can apply it.
100%.
And when you use one of those 6 reframes, it removes the thinking that's keeping you from taking the actions.
100%.
Because the simple secret is this. If you know what you want, what you have to do is bring yourself back to the present moment and just align your thoughts and action with the thing that you want. So imagine the person in Hawaii, imagine the organizing business, and you've got your millions of followers and your HGTV show, or maybe you're on the Magnolia Network. I don't know, maybe that's your dream, or maybe you're doing a YouTube show, right? So you have a dream and you give yourself permission to have the dream, and then you say, okay, well, here I am today on a Tuesday, and I'm standing in my current life. How do I think like the person who has what I want? And what's the one action I could take today that aligns with turning my life toward the thing that's meant for me? And so I'm so proud of you because you are allowing yourself to hear your heart's desire and you are pushing yourself to walk toward it every single day. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
So
awesome. What's blocking you currently?
Well, see...
Yeah, that one.
I
what is it?
A whole list of questions. So, like, what's blocking me currently, like, with the realm and my space in that world. So, like, everyone knows the names of, like, the Home Edit, Marie Kondo, and I love them. I respect them.
Right.
And I'm like, how do I move my mind frame of my limitations, thinking they have made it so big and so far. Like, I want to get there, but like, I don't even know how to take that away to get my mindset around thinking. I can get to that level.
Right.
Like, how do I get there without feeling like a copycat, but also like knowing that it's possible because they're doing it.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm stuck right there.
Got it. So you're stuck in comparison.
100%.
And the people that are ahead of you on the path that you're walking down are making you invalidate yourself.
Totally.
Great. No, not great. Not great. Not great. But this is normal.
Yeah.
Okay. It's normal.
Okay.
It's normal. So one of the reasons why our brain sees everybody that's ahead of us as competition is it's trying to protect you from taking any kind of risks. Yes. Normal for your brain to do this. This is where reframes are critical. I also want to tell you, I struggle with the same thing. I am launching a brand new podcast show in October. All I see around me are the 2 million shows out there, the bigger ones, the this, the that, the other thing. And if I look at them as being ahead of me, I immediately go, why am I even doing this?
100%.
Yes. Okay, so here's how you're going to reframe this.
Okay.
You have to say, they are a light on the path.
Okay.
They're a light on the path I'm walking down.
Yep.
They are showing me it's possible. That's number one.
Yes.
Number
yes.
two, there is no copying because there are no original ideas. Seriously.
Right.
I want you to be inspired. You're not copying, you're inspired by what they're doing.
Right.
Okay? And when you look at a pantry, if you're inspired by what Marie Kondo does or the Home Edit does, you are going to look at the pantry and take that inspiration and do it your way.
Right.
So do not invalidate the fact that your dreams and these people that are showing up are actually trying to get you to feel inspired again.
Okay.
Your doubt and your fear is blocking the inspiration. By calling it I'm copying them, you're demeaning the fact that your dreams are getting stirred up.
Right.
Your inspiration is going.
Right.
So you got to keep walking toward that. Okay, that's number two. Okay. Number three, you may never get there. You may be way bigger. You might.
That's true. Okay.
You might.
Okay.
You might.
Yeah.
And you also are so lucky because you can study everything that they did.
True.
And then you can take the step that they took and you can go, oh, this feels right for me.
Right.
Or you can take the step they took and go, ew, I wouldn't do it that way.
Sure.
I'm going to do it this way.
Okay.
And so literally use their path to test out ways to try this.
Okay.
Because the thing is, you're going to build your business your way.
Right.
It is a gift
Right.
that other people, you know what I'm doing right now? 4 months ahead of launching my own podcast, I am stalking every podcast person. I am listening to their opening episodes. I am studying what they do.
Okay.
I am practicing, and I'm trying to figure out what feels right for me
Okay.
by following what other people have done.
Okay.
It's impossible for you to be somebody else.
Right. Absolutely.
But in trying and practicing and being inspired by other people, you are going to build the skills and the muscle to find the courage to put your own spin on it.
Okay.
You got it?
I got it.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna do it.
And now here's the other thing. It's not a freaking race.
Okay.
Please play the long game.
Okay.
Please do this because you love organizing.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me why you love organizing.
Well, a lot of reasons. One, I just love being able to help people. I can
Great.
see it like there, but I also know from ADHD standpoint, like my history with school was so hard. And like that's, I wouldn't say like my scarring moment, but I had to be organized. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because I would have failed out of school.
Yeah.
And I wanted to achieve. So it's like, it has got me to where I am today because of that.
Yeah.
So that's why I love it. I see people so frustrated, and I always thought everyone knew how to do it.
So this is perfect. That's the long game.
Okay.
You're not addicted to organizing a pantry. You're addicted to that moment where somebody has a breakthrough in what life could be like if they're organized.
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Stay attached to that.
Okay.
Play the long game.
Okay.
It won't ever matter how much money you make or how many followers you have
Right.
or what product deals you make.
Yes.
Because you'll stay attached to the heart and soul of why you're doing this.
Okay.
Got it?
I got it.
Good. Awesome. Go get them. Go get them. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh, right here. Yes. Okay. Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Yes.
Imposter syndrome.
Okay.
So currently, I'm really struggling with realizing that my hard work that I've done is mine, like my hard work, and that I do deserve the things that I'm getting, that I do deserve the awards, the recognition. So how do I deal with like falling back into that, like the hole?
Gotcha. Who can relate to this? You feel like you're not worthy of the things that you're accomplishing, or that somehow this is luck, or somebody's like giving you a break, but you didn't earn it. God, every one of you, that blows. Really. So what you're dealing with when you have imposter syndrome is you're dealing with a lack of self-worth. You literally kind of see all the things working out, but you've got this like annoying voice in your head that's saying, you don't deserve this, this is luck. How many of you have that story? This is luck, this is gonna run out, this isn't due to me. Yeah, we got to literally destroy that voice. That is from your past. And part of the reason why you have that voice, by the way, is because of racism. It's because of discrimination. It's because of childhood trauma. It's because of various experiences that you've had, where either your experiences growing up or society at large has made you feel either overtly or in a really like gross and sort of sly way like you don't belong. And so it is critical for you to start to punch that voice literally out of your head, and I'm going to give you some steps to do it, okay? The second thing that's really important is that in addition to stopping down that voice, because it's not your voice, that is somebody else's voice that your brain listened to and then started repeating. And the thing about your brain is that your brain is this really cool computer that learns patterns. And what I want you to understand is that patterns repeat unless you break and replace them. And if you have a pattern of thinking, like what Heidi has, that says, you're not worthy, you don't deserve this, luck is gonna run out, at some point, the you know what's gonna hit the fan again, brace, don't count on anything, like you didn't earn this. If you got that pattern running in your head, that is a broken pattern. You're not broken. That pattern of thinking is broken. And so the line in the sand that I want to draw starting today
is you're not allowed to listen to that garbage anymore. We are going to go on a mission together to notice whenever it comes up. Oh, interesting. There it is. There's that pattern. It's spinning, just like a load of laundry, right up there. And I'm going to teach you, once you recognize that pattern, you're going to use this thing that I created called the 5-second rule. You're going to count backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because that shuts that down. And counting backwards, let's all do it together. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now notice when you counted, did you feel a little pressure right here? Yeah, that was me hypnotizing you. No, I'm just kidding. What you were feeling is by counting backwards, it's a little brain hack that interrupts all the garbage that's here in the interior part of your brain. This is where imposter syndrome lives, everybody. This is where anxiety is. This is where self-doubt is. This is where self-criticism is. This is where it's all stored. When you notice, oh, there's that voice again, and you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you shut it down, and then you awaken this part of your brain. This is the part of the brain that you used when you were taking the SATs. This is the part of the brain that you used when you applied for that job, when you speak up in that meeting, when you tell somebody, no, you cannot borrow my dress tonight. No. When you have boundaries, right? This is the part of the brain that gives you immediate control over what you think and do next. And so that's a really important thing. Number one, you're going to notice it. Number two, you're going to name it. So let's give that jerk in your brain a name. So Heidi, what do you want to name this thing? Like, close your eyes and think about it. And everybody, close your eyes and think about like that voice, that nasty, stinky, awful, skanky, gross voice in your head. I want to kind of get an image in your mind. It could be a cartoon character, it could be a human being, it could be like some little pimply, ugly person from middle school that you feel sorry for now. Okay? Yeah, because when you laugh at the voice, it doesn't have control over you like it did, right? We want to make this less serious. So what's the name you're going to give your voice?
Well, I was thinking the voice, but maybe something like, I don't know, Rocky, Spiky.
Spiky. Okay. What name do you want to give your voice, Linda?
Bob.
Bob. Okay. How do you say your name?
Sadanya.
Sadanya.
Yes.
Great name. What are you going to give your voice?
Maybe Peabody.
Peabody. I got it. I got it. Okay. How about you? What's your voice?
Bill.
Bill. Ooh, conviction. There's a human being like that talking to you. Bill, we are going to shut Bill down, okay? What about Isabella?
Broccoli.
Broccoli?
I hate broccoli.
She hates broccoli. I love that. That's great. How about you?
Josh.
Josh. Okay, great. So whenever you hear that voice, what I'm teaching you is to use the science of objectivity to distance yourself from that voice. Okay? This is so important because you are not that voice. Welcome in, everybody. Actually, pull up your chairs closer. Do not sit that far away from me. Come on. Yep, let's go. You are not late. You are right on time. Let's welcome them in. Okay? Yep, louder. Clap louder. Super important, everybody, in life to make people feel welcome. Super important to invite people, especially other women, to have a seat at the table. And one of the things that I've learned, and then I'm going to catch you all up on where we're at, okay? One of the things I've learned is that, you know, there's so much success to go around. Have you wrapped your brain around the fact that there are, 8 billion people on this planet? There is so much success to go around. There's so much happiness. There's a tremendous amount of money to make. There's a ton of people to date. And when you focus on the fact that there is limitless possibilities for you, you're not in competition with anybody in this room. And the louder you cheer for other people, the more you invite people in, the more you will be invited in and the more cheering there will be for you. It is incredible when you can flip your mind from being jealous and competitive and small-minded, like if she's getting that, it means I don't. Oh, no, 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 no. If you see somebody getting something that you want, it's evidence that you can have it too. You're just going to get it and have it in your own way. And so you want to make it a habit to cheer for and celebrate all the women, everybody you see around you, because their success means you can have it too. And trust me, if you are a talented, hardworking, kind person, a company will make room for you. They will find another job doing that same thing. And so you focus on you. You focus on being the best you. And I promise you, all the other people around you that are having those things that you want, that's evidence you can have it too. I like to think of other people as a light on the path I'm walking down. They're shining a light that helps me walk in the direction of what I want. I want to share a surprisingly simple thing that you can do in order to deal with overwhelm. And the reason why I say that this is surprising is because whenever you feel overwhelmed, isn't it true that the last thing that you want to do is take on anything else? You're sort of like, I can't do one more thing. I barely have time to go to the bathroom. I'm so overwhelmed. And that's why what I'm about to recommend is incredibly surprising. Because this is going to seem like it's super counterintuitive as a solution based on research and based on, for sure, my personal experience, as a solution to moments in time where you feel overwhelmed by life or by the world or by what you're facing. Now, what is that surprisingly simple solution as a way to deal with overwhelm? Well, the surprisingly simple solution is to take on a simple little challenge that you're going to take on every day. You're going to take on something that aligns with growth and change. It pushes you forward and it gives you something to look forward to every day. Because part of the reason why overwhelm is so debilitating is because when you're overwhelmed, your focus is scattered across absolutely everything. And you're thinking about your family and your health and the news and the this and the that and the presentation and the emails you didn't do and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And at the end of the day, each and every one of those things is not really that important. There's probably, can we agree, 1, 2, or 3 things a day that really matter, that really need your attention? And the reason why we get so freaking overwhelmed with life is we allow our attention to get scattered and to get pulled in a bazillion different directions. And the solution to feeling more in control and to literally dealing with overwhelm, which is just an overwhelming amount of things that really, most of which are not that all important to you, but they're just distracting you, which then pulls your attention away from what really matters. You see, I'd rather have you do 2 or 3 things a day that really matter to you and let the rest just kind of fall where they fall, right? And so the surprisingly simple way to deal with overwhelm is to pick one thing that you're going to focus on every day for you. Like no matter what, you're going to do this thing. You're going to add a little structure. You're going to add something that you're committing to as a way to laser your focus on something that's in your control. It's absolutely awesome how this works. So I'm going to give you an example. When my husband first got diagnosed with depression, he became very overwhelmed. And what I noticed is that he decided to take this online fitness challenge. That's a little bit more than I'm telling you that you should do. But he did this fitness mental toughness challenge called 75 Hard. And even though it was a pain and even though it was hard, having this challenge to focus on as something he had chosen that he was going to commit to every day gave his life a simple structure that had a lot of things that were distracting him fall to the wayside. Same thing happened with our daughter. She became very overwhelmed after she graduated from college. She did not know what she wanted to do. She was in a really unhealthy place. And committing to a simple set of new healthy habits that really were things she could control and committing to doing it for 3 months, it gave her this real discipline around focusing on what mattered to her. And the overwhelm started to disappear because when you create a simple structure for yourself and you say, you know what I'm going to do this week, no matter what this week, I'm just going to get up when the alarm rings.
and I am going to move my body for 30 minutes. And that is the simple structure I am going to put in place for me. And the reason why simple structures like this are so important is because in a sea of this, which is what overwhelm is, like all this stuff, you're like, nope, there is one thing that I am going to do for myself today. And that is the thing that I am going to focus on. And when you give yourself a simple structure, because you decided you're going to work on one thing, it puts on like blinders. Have you ever seen horses that get those blinders kind of on that? Like, it is focusing your attention on something that matters to you. And that one surprisingly simple thing, give yourself a simple structure of one thing you're going to do every single day that gives you something to look forward to, that gives you a way to anchor in a sea of chaos and distraction. And you know that if you could just move your body for 30 minutes a day, or if you just got up and you journaled every morning, or if you just meditated for 10 minutes a day, and you were going to commit to doing that, a simple structure. And interesting, I see Pam saying, Mel, those little things, you know what it does? It keeps a horse from spooking because there's nothing coming at them this way. And isn't it true that life feels like it's coming at you like this? So a simple structure that you put in place, that's something you're excited about, you're empowered by, that you just want to do just because, a challenge, it raises your gaze. It raises your gaze from this crap and all this stuff, and it laser focuses you on one thing that you can control that you're going to do for you. And I'll tell you, it never fails. The second that I feel overwhelmed, I guarantee you, my simple structures, getting up when the alarm rings, high-fiving the mirror, moving my body for 30 minutes, journaling, picking one thing to make progress on, drinking my water, like all the reaching out to friend, that stuff goes by the wayside. The simple structure, which you don't want to put in place because you're so overwhelmed and you can't handle one more thing, it's actually exactly what you need. And it's also a reason, I'm so glad you guys are getting something out of this quick pep talk, because I was thinking a lot about this today. I was driving into Boston. We're looking at office space. We've got a ton of stuff going on, project with Audible. We're going down to New York this week. I'm so overwhelmed. I started to cry in the back seat of the car heading in. And I just said to the person sitting, I don't think I can do all that. I just can't do all this. And then I thought, oh my God, I know what's missing. The simple structures that I put in place for me. The simple structures that always make me feel a little bit more in control. They've literally gone by the wayside because I have allowed myself to get so overwhelmed. And the way that you slice through the overwhelm and you take control again is, I want you to say one thing in the comments. One simple thing that you could add into your day. Is it 30 minutes of exercise? Is it a walk outside? Is it meditating? Is it getting up when the alarm rings? Is it cutting out alcohol for the week? Is it spending 10 minutes working on a project you've been avoiding? What is one thing that you could add back in as a simple structure? For me, it always comes back to this when I'm overwhelmed. I got to go back to the basics. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.